Hello and welcome back to the 2024 SBK Royal Ascot mini podcast series for episode number 4. Ross Miller and myself, Tom Collins, will be spending the next 15 minutes running through all of the action on Friday's card at Royal Ascot. Just for some clarity, we're recording this prior to racing on Thursday, so there'll be no review of Thursday's action in this episode. We'll begin with Friday's opener, which is the Group 3 Albany Stakes. And before we get into the race itself, SBK are offering their 25% winnings boost on the Albany on Friday. £10 max stakes, T&Cs do apply, but go check it out. You can increase your return if you find the winner. Fairy Godmother is the current favourite at around 7-4 with SBK. Mountain Breeze, second favourite at 5-2, and it's 10-1 bar, those two. So very strong on the top two at the market. How do you see the race, Ross? Do you think those two are dominant here?
Yeah, I do think these two sort of dominated TC, but I have to confess I'm surprised that Ryan Moore has chosen Fairy Godmother over Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate be my selection. She's got quite a stout pedigree. She's by Churchill, out of a mare who's produced a myriad of stock, including a 3-mile chase winner, would you believe it, which is always a good place to start looking for a 6-furlong Albany winner. But I like the fact that she was clearly showing enough at home that she was able to start off over 5 furlongs, ran perfectly well, finished second, as a lot of Aidan O'Briens have first time out this year, certainly the juveniles. Then took a massive step forward next time out. I thought she was really impressive. Travelled powerfully, travelled much the best into the race, went a long way into the race on the bridle, quickened up smartly and cleared right away and was very strong through the line, as you would expect with her pedigree. Conversely, I thought Fairy Godmother took an age to get to the front last time. I know it was a Group 3. I know she had to switch, but I'm surprised that Ryan has gone for her. You have to respect his decision, though. He will know far more about her and Heaven's Gate than I would. But call it stubbornness, call it conviction of mind. I'm sticking with Heaven's Gate. I think she's a classy filly. I think she'll travel really well into the race and she'll stay strongly, which I certainly like. So I'm going to stick with her.
Heaven's Gate, I think, is around 11-1 with SBK right now, so a decent price in a race that really lacks depth if you're looking at the market. To be honest, I've been pretty horrible in these 2-year-old races all week, so I'm not going to sit there and say that, I've got the standout selection here. But my only anti-post race in the juvenile, only anti-post bet, in the juvenile races this week was Mountain Breeze, and hopefully she can justify that by winning for Charlie Appleby and Godolphin. I just loved her debut at Newmarket. I tweeted immediately after the race that she would be very hard to beat at Royal Ascot, and I see no reason why that's changed in the interim. Of course, I'm worried about Aidan O'Brien's runners. You always have to be. Aidan's a fantastic trainer. Ryan's picked Fairy Godmother, but Ross's selection has equally good a chance. So I'm a bit tentative, especially given my record so far this week, but I will take Mountain Breeze in the opener. Race 2 is the Group 1 Commonwealth Cup, which has unfortunately cut up a fair bit, hasn't it, since the original entries. Van Dijk's out, Bucanero Fuerte's out, River Tiber's out and running on Saturday instead. So that kind of leaves Inisherin and Elite Status at the top of the market with a lack of depth elsewhere.
Yeah, it's a disappointing race, isn't it, TC? So I sort of fallen back onto my reserves. One who I actually did back anti-post and gave a mention to a couple of weeks back. But first one is Give Me the Beat Boys. I thought he had good form last year. I think he should have won at Ascot. I think Frankie probably would want that ride back again. I think they got at it too far out and he just got outstayed. But I thought he ran really well in the Lacan. He was closing right in at Bucanero Fuerte at the line. Bucanero Fuerte would have probably gone off favourite if Van Dijk hadn't turned up, and he had. And I thought the stiffer track would suit Gimme the Beat Boys. I think if he gets a conservative ride and is delivered late enough, I think he's still a decent enough each-way price. And then the other one is Evade, who actually beat, I think it was my next best on the occasion at Epsom, Native American. I think Native American's a really good horse. He runs in the Jersey on Saturday. I was counting my money, to be honest, watching Evade. I thought he went far too hard in the early stages at Epsom, and I was pretty confident Native American would run him down, and he didn't. Evade found loads at the back end of that race, given how hard he went. Halfway through the race, I thought I found my Commonwealth Cup horse, and then afterwards they were saying that they'd stick to 7 furlongs and keep at this. I think because it's broken up, they're going to chance this. If he can lay up early, and I think given what he did in the early stages last time at Epsom, he should be able to. He'll come home really strongly. Stiff 6 furlongs, I think will suit him well. And I see that Resolute Racing have brought into him. That would be a nice result. I saw John Stewart on the TV yesterday, interviewed. Really nice guy, clearly very passionate about not just horse racing but horse in general, which really appealed to me. So yeah, Evade was my second selection.
Yeah, give me the Beat Boys 14 to 1, Evade 25 to 1 at the time of recording with SBK. I too would love to see Resolute Racing win a race at Royal Ascot this week, but there's a big price in here, 25 to 1. Still definitely has a chance on that Epsom form. My personal opinion is not a strong one. I don't have a bet in this race. I don't have a tip in this race. But what I would say is that I think Inisherin's form is marginally stronger than Elite Status's. If you're looking at the top two in the market, I would prefer Inisherin. If you're looking for an outsider, Ross has just given you two viable options right there. Let's go straight on and move into the Coronation Stakes at 3:45 p.m. Opera Singer tops the market ahead of 1,000 guineas winner Elmalka and third Ramatuel. Second Ports Fortuna's in the field as well. It's a good race. I'm firmly with the favourite here. I hope that she provides Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore with another winner. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I think she's a really classy filly. I think she'll like this quick ground as well. Got a huge, big, low, gorgeous action on her. I think it was very public that she'd missed a lot of work in the run-up to the Irish Guineas. The fact she was still able to show up so well and wasn't beaten all that far, I think is to her credit. I think she'll obviously take a huge step forward here on this good ground. I think the stiff track will suit. I think she's going to take all the beating. Just one that I mentioned on the preview pod, and I still think she represents a little bit of value at a price, is Skellet. She just got a horrible passage through the Irish Guineas. She was situated far too far back, and the first three, Fallen Angel, Lilac Roller and Opera Singer, obviously, were all pretty prominent. She didn't fly home. You couldn't say she was an eye catcher, but she did make relentless, steady progress, having had to switch twice out to her left. I think if she can get a nicer passage through here, again, a stiff track, probably will suit her. I don't think she'd be anywhere near good enough to beat Opera Singer, but I think she could run into a place, and she's a decent price.
Yeah, Opera Singer is currently the favourite 7-4. Skellet's 33 to 1 with SBK right now. I agree with everything you said about Opera Singer. She proved she was a very good 2-year-old last year in the Prix Marcel Boussac. Her run in the Irish 1000 was as strong as anything. And I just think that race and the fact that she's definitely going to take a big step forward, we'll see her in better light than the two that ran in the English 1000 guineas, Elmalka and Ramatuel. Porto Fortuna needs to improve, I think. Let's move straight on then, switch to handicap company, and it's the Duke of Edinburgh Stakes at 4:25. Punters believe that Ryan will stay in the winner's enclosure here as he rides the well-backed Ethical Diamond for Willie Mullins, as short as 5-2 now, was available at 5-1 at the start of the week. He's clearly the horse to beat if you believe that he can replicate his jumps form onto the flat. He's currently rated 94 on the flat. Looks very fair. Are you with him?
I'm not, TC, just because I think he's been overbet. I don't think he's a price that reflects his ability. Because even on the even over the jumps, he didn't, really rock up in the juvenile section. Okay, maybe it was the ground, but I think even over jumps, you're taking a view of the promise he's shown rather than the form. I don't think there's any given that he'll produce that back on the flat. For all that you have to factor Willie Mullins into that genius bracket, along with Aidan O'Brien, they just do things that perhaps other trainers don't see as being possible. And Belleccio was a really good example of that the other day. But at a bigger price, I like Safecracker for Johnny Murtagh. I think this horse got a really nice profile. Thrived on quick ground at the Curragh this time last year, winning over a mile 4. That was off 97. He was pretty brave, I thought, to get up the rail there. He was off the bridle quite early, got up the rail through a fairly narrow gap, and then once he got in the clear, he really pulled away. That was under Ben Cohen. Gets a big jockey upgrade, in my opinion, with Will Buick taking over. It's only £4 high off a mark of 101, and I thought his return last time over an inadequate 10 furlongs was perfectly good enough. He stayed on well at the death. I think this could have perhaps been a target from some way out for Johnny Murtagh, so Safecracker for me.
Safecracker currently 12 to 1. I should have said with Ethical Diamond, one good run over jumps. That race at Leopardstown in February achieved an RPR of 135, so could be well handicapped on that basis. I, though, am taking a similar approach to you, a double figure price, each way alternative. And I started with Shadow Dance for Roger Varian. I think he could probably run into the frame. They quite clearly saw him as a handicap prospect from the outset. They ran him in 3 novice races in quick fire fashion just to get that opening mark. Made a winning start in the division before proving hardy in a battle, but lost out to Al Sakib last time. Al Sakib ran very well in the Cobb horse earlier this week, so that was a good bit of a form boost. The Sandringham moves up next. It's a 5:05. 30 fillies will battle this one out, nice and easy, as per usual. And despite the often tricky look to this, favourites have actually done very well, with 5 winners in the last 10 editions of the race. Indelible will look to carry on that record for Rafe Beckett, who's had a pretty good week already. She's 5-1 jolly at this stage with SBK. I think that's short enough, though.
Yeah, I do. I invite everyone to join me on my Cliff Horse Soprano. She's a really talented filly, and I was very impressed by her debut last year. I thought she'd win the Albany. She probably didn't run all that badly. I was disappointed at the time. I just think she got a bit lost in the middle part of the race. But she was 2 lengths behind Porta Fortuna, who won it. She's now 112. A length behind Matrika, who's 102. Her form was then patchy. She ran quite a bit for what I consider to be quite a leggy 2-year-old filly last year, but she was second in the Sweet Solera behind Fallen Angels, obviously gone on to win the Irish Guineas. Was, comfortably beaten, but it was still a decent run. I think, given how leggy she was last year, I'd expected to make up into a better 3-year-old. George Bluey's form has been a little bit in and out, but he's really hit form now in the last couple of weeks, 39%. And that factors in the fact that he's had a few runners at Ascot that haven't yet won. I thought she stayed on well from a long way back under this jockey last time at Musselburgh. I think that was a change in tactics. I think it worked really well. Gets an extra furlong here. She'll like the nice ground. She'll off a mark of 100, and I'm sure she is better than that, for all that she's a bit frustrating.
Soprano currently 28-1, and it's always great when you get a Cliff Horse finally winning. So even if it's a Royal Ascot this week, when you're going to get a huge price, you're going to get even more reward and relief from her if she wins this race. I too am going for a couple of big prices. It seems to be the theme for our daily podcast. We've gone for some huge prices throughout the whole week, really, except for Thursday. Cat Ninja is the first of my 2 in here. I was at Windsor, where she won 2 starts back. She beat a horse called Clove Hitch, who subsequently came out and basically cantered home to win at Newbury subsequently. That race at Windsor looked pretty strong, and albeit Cat Ninja lost last time, I think she's better than that. She could prove well handicapped to 25-1. Slightly more obvious is Everlasting for Aidan and Ryan Moore. She was considered talented enough to run in the 1,000 Guineas, the Irish 1,000 Guineas. Aidan wouldn't put horses in there if he didn't think they were good enough. So why is she now running in this race, a handicap, with a visor first time? She could be the class act in here. 12-1 looks a very fair price for her. We rattle on now, onto the King Edward VII Stakes at 5:40 p.m. Short price jollies have won 4 of the last 5 editions of this, and there are some really nice horses in this year's renewal as well, and on the Roll of Honour. If you look back, King of Steel, Pile Driver, Japan. It looks wide open though, Ross. You could probably have a dart at a few of these.
Yeah, it's not a race for me, TC. I'm going to be the chef that goes on strike here. For what it's worth, I think Diego Velasquez was really disappointing last time. I was pretty confident that he'd step forward, and he didn't. I'm just not sure. He's a big, top-heavy horse with a fairly high knee action. I'm not sure he's going to want this quick ground, so I'd be against him. If I was offered a free bet, I'd probably chance Voyage, who obviously ran well for a very long way in the Derby last time. Is about 8 stone 9 worse off this time, given that he was doing that without his jockey on board. But I thought his maiden win was very eye-catching, and I think you have to factor in the fact that Richard Hannon was prepared to go from that into the Derby. That is not his MO at all. He likes to creep away. It's clearly a horse that's showing him plenty. I think he'll like this ground. If he can keep his jockey on and get into a rhythm. And also if that hasn't just unnerved him, because, horses don't tend to like running loose. It can upset them, particularly when you've got the atmosphere at Ascot. I think he will be interesting to see how he gets on. It's not a race I want to play in, but he's certainly the one I'd be keeping my eyes on.
Yeah, it's super competitive. Voyage is 14-1. The favourite is Space Legend at around 4-1. This horse owes me. I bet him last time at Goodwood. I tipped him in one of our podcasters. I think it was my nap that week. Tom Arcand just got in a lot of trouble, and unfortunately he could only finish second after flying at the finish. Maybe he's good enough, a recent purchase for Wathnan, but I can't go in again at a shortish price in a race like this. If I was going to have a bet, which I'm not 100% sure I will just yet in this race, it would be on the French challenger, Calandagan. Not quite sure how to pronounce this horse's name, but his recent form has been relatively strong, and a couple of the Frenchies have run nicely earlier this week, so I think he could at least hit the frame. He's 7-1. But as I say, I'm not exactly sure I'm going to have a bet in this race. The final event on the Friday is the Palace of Holyroodhouse Stakes, 5:15. Again, another maximum size field. This doesn't get easier. These big races are fantastic for a viewing spectacle. They're fantastic if you find the winner, getting the value, but they're very difficult. Jubilee Walk is the current favourite at around 8-1. The unbeaten Direlay is next in at 10-1 alongside 3 or 4 others. Where do we go here?
I've actually got one I quite like, TC, which is always fatal, of course. But Matters Most for Rafe Beckett and Ross Orion was really impressive, winning over a stiff 5 at Salisbury, similar sort of track, finishes as we've got here. Then he split Task Force and 7 Questions in the 2-year-old trophy up at Ripon. That was a good run. They're 112 rated, 107 rated. They're now contesting group contests. He's in here off a marker 95. I think 6 furlongs perhaps just stretches him a little bit. His return at Windsor was really good. He was really sharp away from the gate. Got a bit tired late on. It was his first start. I think this stiff 5 might be right up his street. And off a marker 95, I thought he was on a competitive looking mark. And then there's one other who I have questions over, but I just cannot leave him out because I'd be sick if he did. And that's Monaslee for Kevin Ryan. Bolted up at York. I think was your selection for the Norfolk last year. Travelled really powerfully through the race. Was on the wrong side of the track. Wandered around a little bit. Finished second. It was a run that had him marked out as a future winner. And it didn't really happen. He had a 65-day break. He was a big, strong, proper sprinting type of horse. I just wonder whether he sort of got a bit lost in his growth development. He had 65 days off, came back, ran in 2 listed contests, ran all right. They weren't poor, but they were only really moderate runs. Has been away, returned last time at York behind Big Evs. I thought that was perfectly acceptable. Ran nicely enough. He's off a marker 91. I have a slight concern over whether he wants a stiff 5. He might just be a horse that wants an easier 5. But I'd be pig sick if I didn't mention him and he went in. So he's in there as well off a marker 91.
Huge jockey upgrade as well. Tom Eves to Jamie Spencer. That's no disrespect to Tom Eves, but Jamie Spencer at Ascot. I like that. I like the horse as well. But I'm looking elsewhere. You've probably convinced me to have a few quid on it each way because at 50 to 1, there are probably some worse bets. The horse I came down on here was Blue Storm. Again, for each way purposes, like most of these races on Friday, really, I just think he's slightly overpriced. That win at Epsom last time was extremely impressive, showcased high cruising speed and a wicked turn of foot. And albeit he obviously had a very good draw and raced on the best part of the track, I still think he was by far the best horse in the race. He probably should be shorter due to his connections in here, and his RPR of 101 last time up suggests his current mark of 94 is very fair. That's every race covered then on Friday. Napa next best time. Go ahead.
Opera Singer in the Coronation TC. I think she looks like a class above the others. And then my next best is Matters Most in the Holyroodhouse. Take a swing at a good one and hope I'm right.
Yeah, Ross's Nap Opera Singer 6-4 currently. 7-4, sorry, I should say. 6-4 in places. Matters Most, the next best, is 33-1 with SBK. My nap is also going to be Opera Singer. So we're joining hands for the first time this week in terms of our nap. And my next best is going to be Mountain Breeze in the 230, just because I backed her anti-post, so have to put her up there in my list. Before we go, just a reminder that SBK are offering a 25% winnings boost on the opening race on Friday. That is the Albany Stakes. Go and check that out. Thank you for listening. Please join us again tomorrow, where we'll be conducting our final podcast of this mini-series, covering all of Saturday's action and probably a brief review of what we've seen so far at Royal Ascot, with maybe one to follow, moving ahead into the depths of summer. But yes, join us again. Until then, be lucky.